Hello guys, welcome back. From our previous tutorial we saw the levels of biodiversity. In that particularly we learned what is genetic diversity, how genetic diversity varies, how genetic diversity helps in the adaptation and adaptation of a different species and evolution of different species, right? So in this tutorial we'll be seeing the remaining levels of biodiversity, which is species diversity and ecosystem or community diversity. Okay, let's get into it. So let's see about species diversity. Species diversity, it refers to the variety in number and richness of the species in any habitat. So let me tell you what does habitat mean. Habitat mean any place or a particular area that provides that provides a home for any type of organism. Varvidam in Tamil we can say, right? So I have given an example. So it's a forest. So we just divided the forest into two zones. This one is A zone and this one is B zone. Okay. So we just want to measure the species diversity of these two zones. Before we talk more about this A and B zone, let's go and know about the definition of species richness. The number of species per unit area. The number of species per unit area at a specific time is called species richness. So let me give you an example. So look at this picture and look at this picture too. So when you look at this picture, you have totally four type of species. I mean four different types of species. Like this one is a single one kind of species, and this, and this are one type of species, and this, and this are one type of species. Likewise, this and this and this are one type of species. Totally, how many types of species you have? Four types of species. So the number of species, so the number of different species in per unit area, let's consider this as 100 or 10 into 10 square kilometer at a specific time, at a particular time, is called species richness, because you have totally four type of different species. Okay, you might have five or six, but four types of different species in a particular area at a particular time. Okay, so that is what we call species richness. ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் ஏரியா, ஒரு ஃபாரஸ்ட்ல இப்போ 4 வகையான மரங்கள் இருக்குங்க, சரியா? இது ஒரு வகையான மரங்கள், இது ஒரு வகையான மரம், இது ஒரு வகையான மரம். ஸோ எல்லாமே பார்த்தா ஈவனா டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட் ஆயிருக்கு. ஸோ பட் ஸ்பீஷியஸ் ரிச்னஸ்னா எத்தனை வகையான மரங்கள், எத்தனை வகையான மரங்களோ இல்லை அனிமலோ, எத்தனை வகையான ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் ஸ்பீஷஸோ இல்லை டிஃப்ரெண்ட் ஸ்பீஷஸோ இருக்கிறது தான் நம்ம ஸ்பீஷியஸ் ரிச்னஸ் சொல்றோம். அந்த இடத்துல ரிச்சா இருக்கு, நிறைய வகையான மிருகங்களும் தாவரங்களும் இருக்கிறதால நம்ம அதை ஸ்பீஷியஸ் ரிச்னஸ் சொல்றோம். ஸோ இந்த பிக்சர்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா when you look at this picture, the same number of species you have, but one particular species alone has dominated. Dominated means it just grow in abundance when compared to other species. So this area, can we call this area species diversity? No, high species diversity. No, we cannot call this area as highly diverse area, because only one particular species has grown abundantly, but rest of the species are in endangered list. Okay, so species diversity means the variety in number and richness of the species. Variety in number means you have different group of species as well as its number. So for example, this group of species have evenly distributed. If you just count all the group of different species have evenly distributed, but not, when you compare this one, it's not like that. Only particular species alone has evenly distributed. So species diversity altogether, the number of different species as well as its distribution. Okay, it should be evenness, it should be even. So that is what we call species evenness, which is not given in your book. Okay, so altogether we call a species diversity. We can consider this place as high species diversity, whereas this place we cannot call them as high species diversity because it has only one particular group of species being very highly dominated whereas the other species are not being dominated here or not evenly distributed. அதாவது ரெண்டு இடத்துக்குள்ள இப்போ நம்ம கம்பேர் பண்றோம்னா ஸ்பீஷியஸ் டைவர்சிட்டினா எத்தனை வகையான மரங்கள் இருக்கு அந்த அத்தனை வகையான மரங்களும் ஈவனா டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட் ஆயிருக்கா. இப்போ இது ஒரு வகையான மரம்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இது ஒரு மேங்கோ ட்ரீனா இந்த மேங்கோ ட்ரீ மற்ற மரங்கள் அளவுக்கு ஈவனா இருக்கணும். இதனுடைய நம்பர் 10 இருந்தா இதனுடைய நம்பர் 9 இல்லைனா 10, இதனுடைய நம்பர் 10 இல்லைனா 8. ஸோ லைக் வைஸ் எல்லா நம்பரும் ஈவனாக டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட் ஆயிருந்தாதான் அதை மொத்தமாக சேர்த்து நம்ம ஹைலி ஸ்பீஷியஸ் டைவர்சிட்டி ஏரியான்னு சொல்ல முடியும். பட் இந்த இடத்துல பார்த்தோன்னா ஸ்பீஷியஸ் ஈவன்னஸ் மட்டும்தான் அதிகமாக இருக்கு. ஈவன்னஸ்னா ஒரு ஸ்பீஷியஸ் மட்டும் நல்லா அதிகமாக வளர்ந்துருக்கு, மற்ற ஸ்பீஷியஸ் எல்லாம் அதிகமாக வளரல. ஸோ இப்போ புரிஞ்சிருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸ்பீஷியஸ் டைவர்சிட்டிக்கு மெயின் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் எத்தனை வகையான மரங்கள் இருக்கு, அந்த அத்தனை டைப் ஆஃப் மரங்களும் ஈவனா டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட் ஆயிருந்தா அதை ஸ்பீஷியஸ் ஹைலி ஸ்பீஷியஸ் டைவர்ஸ்ட் ஏரியான்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொல்றோம். ஓகே, so the more number of species in an area, the more is species richness. For example, if you have more than another 3 more type of species if you have in this particular area, then you can call this place as you can call this area as high species richness area, right? So another example which they have given in your book, Western Ghats have greater amphibian species diversity than the Eastern Ghats. So I just took a simple picture example for you guys to understand better. So let's assume this as Western Ghat amphibian. Amphibian species means it does not only include frog, you have many other species that comes under amphibian groups. So in Western Ghats you have 4 types of frogs. In Eastern Ghats you have only 4 types of amphibians. In Eastern Ghats you have only 2 types of amphibians. Again, if you look at the counts, for example, this frog, the number of this particular frog is like around 100, and this one is around 95, this one is around 80, and this one is around 85, and this one is around 90. So when you compare it, like the distribution is also evenly, it is almost similar and even. So we can call this Western Ghat as highly diverse area in terms of amphibian species, whereas you have only 2 type of species. Again, the number also is not as Western Ghat. It's not evenly distributed. So I hope you guys understood what is species diversity. Now let's go and see a few examples. So look at this picture. Which community might have high species diversity? So it is a question which you will have to answer me. So you guys have to answer me personally and tell me whether community 1 has high species diversity or community 2 has high species diversity. Remember what I told you about species diversity. Okay, remember what is species evenness. Like I told you, species diversity means in a particular given area the number of different species as well as its distribution, the abundance also should be even. If it is like that, then we can call that area as highly species diverse area, right? So if you look at this 2 picture, community 1 and community 2, both of them have same type of animals. Okay, but you have to find out which community has high species diversity based on how I explained from my previous slide. So please please listen carefully and answer this question personally to me. So let's see the 3 indices of diversity, species diversity. You have alpha diversity, beta diversity, and gamma diversity. Let's see one by one in detail. Alpha diversity means it is measured by counting the number of taxa, usually the number of species. For example, this one is a different species, and these 2 are different species, and these 2 are different species. So in a community, for example, it is a place which is separated from other community. If you look at this 3, right? So it is separated from other community. or ecosystem. For example, you have a water body near to it. So within this ecosystem, you have there will be lot of interaction between abiotic and biotic factors. For example, you have a river here, and this is a particular community, and this one is a particular community. Okay, and these two are different particular two I mean different communities. So within a community, so you will alpha diversity means you will be measuring the number of taxa in within a community, only particular community or ecosystem. Okay, so this is a community or ecosystem, and this one is a community or ecosystem, this one is a community or ecosystem. So that is what no what that is what we call alpha diversity. You will only go and count the number of different species in a particular community, okay, or ecosystem. So what is beta diversity means? It is species diversity between two adjacent ecosystem and is obtaining by comparing the number of species unique to each of the ecosystem. So what does it mean? Don't get confused, it's very simple. So I told you all these are different communities or ecosystem because they are separated or like being apart. So if you just beta diversity means between two adjacent ecosystem. Adjacent means nearby. Okay, so you have one ecosystem or community here, and you have one ecosystem or community. Remember what is ecosystem? I told you, right? Ecosystem means interaction between biotic and abiotic factor. So you have two ecosystem here, okay, and as well as two communities. So you just compare them, these two communities. When you compare them, you just try to find out which ecosystem or community has unique species in it. For example, if you look at this taxons or this species is already there in this ecosystem or community, but this species is not there, right? So this species is particularly unique to this particular ecosystem. So you just compare two ecosystem or community, okay, and you just find out which community or which ecosystem has unique species diversity, right? Unique means, for example, this particular species, this particular tree is not available in this ecosystem, but it is only restricted, only available in this particular ecosystem. So which one has highly unique? This one is highly unique, right? தனித்துவமா தெரியுது. யூனிக்னா தனித்துவமா தெரியுது. ரெண்டுத்தையும் கம்பேர் பண்ணும்போது இதுல இருக்கிற ஸ்பீஷியஸ் இதுல இருக்கு, ஆனா இதுல இருக்கிற இந்த ட்ரீ வந்து யூ கேனாட் ஃபைண்ட் இட் ஹியர். ஸோ அப்போ இது ரெண்டுத்துல எது தனித்துவமா இருக்கு? இதுதான் தனித்துவமா இருக்கு, யூனிக்கா இருக்கு. ஸோ பீட்டா டைவர்சிட்டினா ஒரு ரெண்டு ஈகோசிஸ்டத்தோட கம்பேர் பண்ணி அதுல அதுல இருக்கிற எந்த அந்த ரெண்டு ஈகோசிஸ்டத்துலயும் எந்த ஈகோசிஸ்டத்துல இருக்கிற ஸ்பீஷியஸ் வந்து யூனிக்கா இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொல்றதுதான் பீட்டா டைவர்சிட்டி. And gamma diversity means it refers to the diversity of habitats over the total landscape or geographical area. So what does it mean? Refers to the diversity of the habitats. Habitat means all of them are habitats, right? Over the total landscape or geological area. The total measuring the diversity of the entire region, the total landscape and total geological area is known as gamma diversity. So I hope you guys understood the three indices of diversity. If you have any doubts, please don't hesitate to contact me again. Let's final diversity. Community or ecosystem diversity. As the name suggests, it is the variety of habitats, biotic communities and ecological process in the biosphere. So you guys know what is biosphere, right? The entire planet Earth, wherever you have life form, right? Like for example, river interact with land through a lot of different ecological processes like nutrient cycle, carbon cycle, and many other cycles. So it is the variety of habitat. For example, I have given two habitat here. This one is pond habitat and this one is terrestrial land forest habitat. So this one is, you can call this one as a separate ecosystem and this one as a separate ecosystem. And biotic communities means the living organisms that present in this pond and the living organisms that present in the forest. So you have plants, fishes, and plankton, algae, all these things you can find it in pond. In land terrestrial forest you can find grass, trees, animals, wolves, lions, all these things you can find it. So ecological processes in the biosphere. Ecological processes means, for example, pond water depend on many other nutrients through rainwater. For example, during rainy season the water will be the water will be washing swept away, like the water finally just reaches to the pond, right? While it is coming from different area, it will collect all the minerals and nutrients that is present in the soil and finally just deposit that in the pond. So those factors are abiotic factors, and once it reaches to the pond, the animals and plants that lives in this pond will interact and utilize those minerals and survive. So this process is known as ecological processes. Likewise, in forest also you have plants. Animals goes and feed onto the plant. For example, deers, herbivores, they go and eat the trees and other things. When they eat, they just excrete the product. I mean, they release their waste. That waste will again be broken down and converted into different compounds through various process. Finally it will be sent back to the atmosphere. So again, here also you have abiotic factors and biotic factors that interacts and finally just contribute in the biosphere. Biosphere means the living environment, animals or plants, organisms, all together wherever they live, the entire place where organism lives, or we call it as biosphere. Bio means life. So if you look at this picture also, you have two different ecosystem and you can see the ecological processes, like atmospheric air is being utilized by the plant. The deer can go and feed it and it excrete the waste, and that waste will be converted by many bacteria, while during rainy season that will be carried away and reached will be deposited in the water, and there you the algae utilize and grow. Again fish goes and eats, fish goes and prey upon it, another fish go and eats that fish. It is an ecological process, right? So that is what we call community or ecosystem diversity. So it is the diversity at the ecosystem level due to diversity of niches, traffic levels, and ecological process like nutrient cycle, food webs, energy flow, and several biotic interactions. I've told you all this thing in my this examples, right? Niches. If you guys don't know what is niche means in ecosystem, particular species will have its own niche. For example, the deer, right? They go and feed onto particular plants in order to avoid the competition. And other herbivores, they go and eat another type of plants, and they form a particular niche to that particular species. So trophic levels and ecological process. I told you what is ecological process, and like nutrient cycles, food web, energy flow, and several biotic interaction. All these collectively we call them community or ecosystem diversity. So in India we have alpine meadows, so which is like a beautiful place which is highly composed of. That place has most uh, grassland diversity, and we have mangrove diversity, which is very unique species because it only survive in the high saline water area, because you cannot find many trees nearby this seashore or brackish water, which we call the water which has high saline concentration. So we also have second largest mangrove biodiversity at Sundarban biodiversity in western West Bengal, and we also have unique coral reef ecosystem. Coral reef ecosystem means Pavala Paraigal Madam. Okay, so that coral reef provide habitat for many species, many animals. So this is a particular ecosystem. So all this collectively we call community or ecosystem diversity, because ecosystem means ecosystem. I already explained. Ecosystem means the interaction between biotic and abiotic factors, right? So the diversity, the diversity means like whatever animals and plants that present in this ecosystem, as well as the ecological process such as nutrient cycle, food webs, energy flow, and all this collectively we call ecosystem diversity. I hope you guys understood. If you have any doubt, please do contact me, and I will see you guys in another video. Thank you.